Thank you for coming back. I told you I wanted you back.
Yeah.
Welcome to Slim Nation's One on One podcast with conversations featuring the host, James Slim Overton.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Slim Nation One on Ones podcast. Of course, I'm Slim Overton, and we are here today with recurring guests. I will call him one of my guest hosts because he's been on, and I told him I would like for him to come on periodically because he deals with climate and. Climate is something that we'll be dealing with for a while, and he always comes with some great information. He's from the city of Portsmouth, so goes back and forth from Portsmouth to Atlanta, where a lot of his base is as far as the work that he does, and I'll let him talk about that. But it's Garry Harris. Good morning, Garry. How you doing?
Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. And I'm not in Atlanta this morning. I'm in the land of efute and redfish and mussels and crabs and all that stuff and Bourbon Street this morning. In fact,
Oh, okay.
down in New Orleans, down in New Orleans, where we have about 300 people associated with the movement to advance the Justice 40 initiative. And on yesterday, what was the 1 year anniversary of IRA. And that's the Inflation Reduction Act. Woo! So excited this morning about it and such. It's probably my third radio show on it. But that act from the Harris Biden administration, really is pumping all kinds of money and resources and technical assistance uh, uh, into the economies, both at the national level, state level, and most importantly at the community level. So why I'm here in New Orleans and such, because we're gathering to figure out, how can we make sure that our communities, receive those resources and such. So we got about 300 people consisting of folks like us, community based organizations and entrepreneurs and state leaders, elected officials, but more importantly, we got folks from the White House here as well.
Oh,
Who
wow.
who've come to figure out collectively, how we can make sure that our communities, get their fair share of these monies. On yesterday again, the Biden administration and us, we all celebrated this act, for 1 year now, and such that the Inflation Reduction Act, along with the uh, bipartisan infrastructure laws, along with ARPA and all those other bills and such, have been pumping monies into the economy and creating jobs, and fixing infrastructure, and working with communities to mitigate environmental justice issues and such. So 1 year, billions of dollars have actually flowed, through lots of avenues. As a matter of fact, we're fortunate enough to this morning receive a $498,000, $321 and some change award from the EPA.
Well,
Uh,
congratulations. Yeah.
thank you, to install air sensors in portions of Atlanta where there are no air sensors now and such. And these air sensors will be used to monitor air quality uh, in schools and such, and also communities that lie adjacent to interstate highways. In Cavalier Manor, where I live and such, we have an interstate highway, and a long time ago, the community was redlined, and they put in interstate highways to divide north from south, from economic disparity to uh, economic prosperity and such. So that's why those interstate highways were put in place. That's why we have 264 right where it is now and such, right adjacent to our community and such. But what happens is those interstate highways have what? All kinds of what? Port traffic, trucks, vans, cars, you know, you name it and such, going by it on a daily basis and such. And those emissions just do what? They flow right down into our community, and that's why you see health disparities, and those health disparities lead, lead, lead to respiratory illness and chronic lung disease and asthma. That's why our community has all kinds of stuff like that because those interstate highways are located right there and such. So,
Right there, right there through the neighborhoods. Yeah.
that's right, right and that was planned, that was deliberate, that was intentional and such. And so
And
our
and Gary, since you mentioned that, you see a lot of other states. Of course, they have a lot more vast land, but most of those interstate highways are out in the middle of nowhere.
yeah,
They
exactly,
they just
exactly.
try, where it has no direct effect
Impact, right?
on communities and things like that,
That's
and
right.
you don't see a lot of building up around it.
That's right.
But we don't have that kind of land. But I guess it could have been some way where it could have been sort of directed around the outskirts of the city or something like that. I don't know if that would have worked. But
Well,
anyway,
well,
let me
no,
say this too, and you can continue on.
sure.
What you are talking about and what you come on here and talk about, a lot of times people don't hear about this important information
That's why
because
I'm talking.
the news is always about Trump or political things going on. I mean, every day you turn on the news, but when it comes down to talk about climate and infrastructure, which work like you're doing is going on. The president is and the Congress is supplying money for it. But people don't know this is going on. All we hear is all this crazy stuff, and
Right,
this kind of information is so important because
that's right.
it affects so many of us. And just like you just mentioned, the highways was designed years ago. It
Right,
came straight to most of our communities. I live in
right.
Truxton. How and Interstate 264 travels through Truxton,
Right.
from
There
downtown
you go.
through
There you
Truxton
go.
and past public housing and through Cavalier Manor.
There you go.
And so I guess that's a part of what you are doing with your study. Talk about some of the results or some of the, I'm sure you're going to get into that, some of the things that y'all have uh, discovered or recovered
All
since
that, all that,
all of that,
all
since
that.
this is your 1 year anniversary. I'm sure
Yeah.
something has been going on if you're still
Oh,
being awarded that kind of money
kinds of stuff,
to
all kinds
continue.
of stuff. So yeah, I'm in New Orleans with about 300 people from across the southeast. And we're building coalitions and coming together in collaborative manners, so that we can make sure that our communities get their fair share of these dollars and such. And these communities, there's a clause in the executive order that was issued by the president called Justice 40. And that means 40% of the benefits, for not the dollars, 40% of the benefits which would should flow down into communities, particularly underserved communities and such. But just look at Portsmouth City Council. How do you, no, I don't mean to say that, but let's just look at local government. Let's just look at state government. That can be a torturous path to get through sometimes and such. So we're kind of trying to come up with solutions and strategies and actions to make sure that those dollars flow into our communities. And make no mistake, we do work in Atlanta and also Hampton Roads, Virginia, with our Eco District project there and such. But it's vitally important that we now find ways to get these monies into our communities. And we're talking billions of dollars for solar energy, billions of dollars to reduce transportation emissions, billions of dollars for green infrastructure, billions of dollars for green buildings as well, billions of dollars to reduce health disparities, billions of dollars to for jobs and workforce development and such. But do we see that? So that's why we need champions like us to make sure that those resources flow into our communities. If I say something like a tic tac, we know what that is and how to use that, etc. So it's vitally important, extremely important. Last year, and no brag this fact, we did some 90 different projects, and these projects, programs, events, activities around these themes of sustainability and sustainable development, clean energy, and workforce development and such. So some of those right there in Hampton Roads. And guess what? But besides we won two awards. One was the EPA award, $498,000. But then at Hampton Roads, we were just on a team with Elizabeth River Project, Lynn Haven Now, and the state of Virginia. We just won a $2 million award on yesterday to basically clean up the river some more, remove some of that debris. But coming off of that, we can make sure that there's some workforce development associated with that. There's meaningful community engagement associated with that. And people are educated. This climate stuff spans the gambit and such, and that's why we're going to make sure that our communities are in the homes that we live in Cavalry Manor and elsewhere in Hampton Roads are energy efficient. That's why we're going to make sure that there's charging stations in our community, such that we too can have access to affordable uh, 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 electric vehicles. That's why we're going to make sure that that we're bringing clean, affordable energy in terms of community scale power and rooftop solar and such. In Atlanta, we have a coalition of 40 members that have come together under the banner of Rebuild ATL. And in Atlanta, we plan on rebuilding that entire city, based on energy efficiency, based on renewable energy, based on fixing homes and such, and driving and deconstruction, actually taking things apart, that sort of thing, and reusing it, repurposing it, reselling. Whole industry around that. We're using to rebuild Atlanta and such, weatherizing homes as well. We're going to do the same thing in Hampton Roads and such, as well. So this is a very exciting time. We yeah, you work hard in this field. This is not a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Working with climate. I'm up with the chickens in the morning at 4:30. And shutting it down 11 o'clock at night. Got to hit the gym a little bit. That's something to keep things going. But it's hard work. It is work that's focused on purpose. And so,
Yeah, and indeed, and that's why I want people to know about it. And as you mentioned, Hampton Roads, are you all dealing with Hampton Roads? I know you're dealing. This is a national thing, or based in Atlanta, and you're
right,
dealing with a lot of different communities. Are y'all dealing with Hampton Roads as a region, or are you dealing with the municipalities? The reason I ask that because it's Portsmouth, the municipality of Portsmouth, and elected officials, are they aware of what's going on? Are they on board and making sure that they are keeping up with what you're doing, and so they can be a part of that? I see some places now at a Wawa where they have the electrical outlets for
uh, yeah,
and at the casino and different spots like that. But you have
yeah,
to get to the point where those cars going to have to be affordable for us.
yeah, exactly.
At one point. You
And,
know,
and, and our coalition in Atlanta, for instance, primarily consists of nonprofits and community-based organizations and businesses and such, and is supported by government. But it's important that the government is aware of these resources, such that they can take action. Such that they can apply for grants, such that they can upgrade and ramp up their programs, such that they can build coalitions and such. And so government has a strong role in this if they choose to play or not. But we can't wait on government.
right.
We cannot wait on government. We have to. These funds, these resources are being directed towards communities. It's for communities and community-based organizations like ours, to take the action, to build the coalitions, to do the collaborative problem solving, to take the action, to improve our communities. So community-based organizations and government could work collaboratively to could work collaborate together. That's a desired and ideal model. But in the absence of that, community-based organizations, need to take the lead and such. And that's why we're here in New Orleans. And that's why across the country, the community-based organizations and nonprofits, are taking the lead on this to ensure that those resources flow into communities.
Wow, it's amazing that people like myself, and I'm sure other people out there, when you start talking about climate, how one dimensional we are when we think about climate. We just think about the weather and wow, it's hot and things are changing. That's abnormal. But to hear you talk, how many other things tie into to the topic of climate,
Oh,
as far as the
everything,
infrastructure and
everything.
workforce development, all that
Yep,
ties in.
yep, yep. It sure
So
does.
and it should bring in more people to be interested about what you're talking about, because it's not all about just climate. Because some people are either bored by it, or they either are that faction that doesn't believe the scientific evidence that's
Well,
telling us what we
well,
need to do. But
you know,
it's all inclusive. Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. Hey, it's hot outside. You can't
yeah,
ignore that. You can't ignore how the temperatures increased now. And for instance, in Phoenix, they had 30 straight days of above 110-degree temperatures. They declared emergency out there and such. And that the same thing in Florida, the same thing in Texas, and also Virginia as well. We're seeing escalating temperatures and such. So you can't deny that. That's in your face. So you have to ask yourself, can I adapt to that? Or can I mitigate that? Okay. So in mitigating that, mitigating is up to us. We have to mitigate that. We can't wait on government to do that for us. We have to take action. Okay. And that means that every action that we take, we have to ask ourselves, how do we affect climate? Okay. The food I eat. Okay. If I eat lots of meat, that means I'm raising cattle. That means they need to be fed. That means they need to be transported. A lot of energy there. Okay. All right. My house. Okay. If my house is not weatherized, it's not energy efficient, I'm using a lot of energy to cool and heat that. The way that I drive and transport, if I'm using an old clunker that consumes a lot of gasoline, or am I walking, or am I biking, or am I taking rideshare or bus, that sort of thing, to reduce those transportation emissions, then I'm contributing and such. So it's really human centered activity that's causing climate change and such. So we, on an individual basis, have to take action. One of the things I'm proud of is the fact that in the past I was the creation care ministry leader at the historic Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, and that was Martin King's church and such. I took a ministry, a singles ministry, and transformed it into an environmental ministry. I had folks holding hands in the woods, that sort of thing. And I say that because it takes faith-based organizations. It takes community-based organizations. It takes our schools. We've got to raise the education and awareness in order to get the type of engagement that we're looking for. And this is hard work. I walk our community every single day, in Cabinet Manor. Looking at things, talking with people, et cetera, et cetera. So it takes that sort of grassroots movement building, in order to create through campaigns, not political campaigns, but campaigns of education and awareness building, of engagement, to move people to action and such. And then example, last weekend I was in Atlanta and at Ebenezer Baptist Church. We were at a health fair. It was a back to school fair, and we brought in electric vehicles, and we brought in solar panels and all that sort of stuff, and let the kids get up close and personal and touch this stuff, that sort of thing. So they were climbing all over the car, that sort of thing. But it was great because they could see an electric vehicle. They could ask the question, well, where's the engine at? That sort of thing. So it takes, you have to be deliberate. And we had 500 people
Mm.
come through this health fair back to school. So we're passing out backpacks, but talking about climate at the same time. So it takes, and and just hold on for a second here. I just happen to have this here. Uh, I just he just gave me this T-shirt on yesterday. But see, justice is about meaningful community engagement. Okay, intentional, being deliberate about this stuff. Putting in the time, the sweat, equity, and the grassroots movement. But it also means having the policies in place. And by God, we have the policies in place now. But it means that we have to have once we have the policies in place, we have to have the means for those resources to flow and such. Sometimes in the past, government has been an impediment. And that's why, honestly, that's why you see all these dollars bypassing local governments, bypassing state governments and such, and coming directly to community-based organizations. Because they're the boots on the ground. They know how to move this to action and such. So this is a really exciting time. We talked about earlier about us being accepted into the Community Power Accelerator program. Oh man, that was we're really excited about that. That's a DOE in-rail initiative, what puts us on par with other folks around the country in a learning laboratory scenario to teach us more about renewable energy, to teach us more about how to deploy these resources in our community. Excited about that, really excited about that. 2 days before that, we were accepted to the People's Solar Energy Fund. Again, more resources to get renewable energy into our communities. 2 days before that, we were accepted into Funders Forward or Fast Forward in a program sponsored by somebody called, who's that? Meta? Who's Meta? Meta. Who's that? Anyway, Meta and University.
Isn't that part of Facebook?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So Meta. We accepted the program with Meta.
I see
And,
what you.
yeah, just teasing. But yeah, so hey, maybe we can get Mark to drop by Cabinet Manor. But
Yeah.
so we got accepted into his program along with the University of Maryland to have an environmental justice lab there. So that they came together and they created this Founders Fund. But what is it for? It's for folks like us, BIPOC organizations to build capacity, to be accelerated, incubated, and then moved out so we can do greater work than this and such. And we won 2 awards from something called American Made Hero X. That's DOE and NREL saying, hey, DOE and NREL are doing phenomenal stuff in this space. Quickly here, we won 2 awards there for building coalitions to advance renewable energy. But what I'm most proud of is I went all the way out to LA, and on my own initiative and sat in this DOE initiative and program around workforce development. We're now helping them to build a national clean energy workforce accelerator and such. So it was about 40 of us from around the country came together. We were selected, and went there and talked to them about workforce development and what it takes to do that and such. And coming out of that, the DOE plans to put in place pilots, if you would, around the country. At first, they were only going to do 10 for this National Workforce Development Accelerator. Now we're going to ramp that up to maybe 30 or 40, and I'm going to push for Hampton Roads. I lived in Atlanta for a long time. When we got Atlanta going, we're doing some great stuff down there. But to be honest with you, I'm gonna start running Hampton Roads. When I was at Manor High School, they called me Do It All Harris. track and field. I set 6 school records, and running that track in that hot weather. So now let's really start running for our community, really start running for Hampton Roads. Again, yesterday we won a $2 million award. We have another $500,000 award pending and such for workforce development, working with Hampton Roads Workforce Council and some others as well. It's time for us to take our communities, embrace our communities, and ensure again that these dollars flow, these resources flow. And we help to set up a network of centers around the country to ensure that these resources flow into these communities and such.
Yeah. Guy, has it been any effort to probably involve the Hampton Roads universities
Oh yeah,
in that
absolutely.
endeavor?
Oh,
So that money can flow through those universities, and
well,
those students that are in those fields could be a part of that, and you have a presence right here in Hampton Roads. It might be easier. I'm thinking it might be easier to go that route than to trying to get some municipalities, because you have to deal with the politics of it sometime and convincing people that, and
uh-huh.
then, the leadership changes and everything. But if you start with the universities,
Well, not start, not start with the universities, but certainly bring them along with as partners and such.
okay, okay.
And they are getting, trust me, they're getting HBCUs like Norfolk State, New Hampton. They're getting their fair share of dollars as well, and doing great work. And but in terms of our university linkage, we were we've been selected as partners in residence, and partners in residence and signature partners at the Georgia Institute of Technology. All kinds of projects that they've done with us in Virginia as well. With the Georgia Institute of Technology has given us nearly between 200 to 300 students, and yeah, we could probably mirror the same thing, with local colleges as well. And we're working with ODU, we're on their community advisory board and such.
Mhm.
So yeah, and we're working with HBCUs across the country. But I say that because particularly in our case with Georgia Institute of Technology, a top 10 university, they saw in us the opportunity to build capacity. They saw what we wanted to do with Eco District Hampton Roads. They saw that we had the potential, to move the needle forward. So they partnered with us readily, and say, hey, we're going to make you a signature partner. We're going to make you a partner in residence, and we're going to give you the resources to carry out your mission. And guess what? They did that.
Yeah.
Two to 300 students, 30 to 40 projects, and such 12 departments working with us now with the Georgia Institute of Technology. Then guess what? In 1 week, I just got off the phone with the professor yesterday. 33 students are going to help to move our Eco District Hampton Roads project, to the next level. So just imagine, you're receiving 33 volunteers or 33 personnel or 33 administrative assistants or 33 operational folks, in one chunk to help you uplift what you're doing. That's significant. That's powerful. That's commitment. Okay, and I say that, and we work with many other HBCUs around the country. Matter of fact, we're part of the HBCU Alumni Association. I'm not an alumni of an HBCU, but we still have that alignment and such. So yeah, work with colleges, universities could be one way, but not the way of making this happen. Still needs to lead with community-based organizations as well, because they're the boots on the ground. They're the folks located in communities. They're the folks who have the community voice as well.
And Gary, as we wind down this half an hour, I wanted to ask you. I know it's short-term and long-term goals that you all have.
Yeah.
what would be the most important if you were talking to a group of us, senior citizens or young students or anybody?
Right.
What would be the most important short-term goal that we could participate in or be involved in as far as what you all are trying to do?
Excellent topic. I can tell you, help us build a coalition for change. This is not going to be done by us alone or by some other elected official alone or by some university alone and such. You have to have coalitions. You have to have people working together in a collaborative manner to make this work. And that has to be continuous. It can't be, oh, I'm going to go to the meeting this week and not next. We just can't meet on a monthly basis, and come in for an hour or two and go on our way. It has to be continuous, deliberate, engaged, active, okay, and driving out actions to mitigate. We have to be lifting up voices in the community. We have to be listening to what folks need. We have to be bringing in resources and such, and that's why we're getting the honestly I work hard for this. Minor High School, UVA, and Georgia Tech, all that good. I work hard for this, and guess what? Now the resources are rolling in,
Rolling in, yes.
and I plan to take care of our community. Okay, I've been away in Atlanta, done some great things there. Got some programs rolling. We're doing great stuff in Atlanta. I'll be there next week with the mayor's office, citywide sustainability movement and such, citywide weatherization, citywide solar. Going to bring the same thing here, But it takes what to do? Come together in coalitions, come together in collaborations, and work in a collaborative manner towards collective impact, and with a common agenda, common framework, and a common mindset for change and such. That's going to get us there.
Well, that's great. And thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. And we will continue having these conversations with you. And maybe we'll tap into you when you're in Atlanta. Just let us know when you're there and we'll figure out a little period where we can come in like this and talk about what's going on there. As long as we can keep the information and the topic out before the people. So all the other things don't dominate the conversation. It's not to say that some of the other things aren't important, but um, this I think is very important for us to be aware of and know what you all are doing. And like you said, having some collaborative efforts, especially here locally in Hampton Roads, making sure we're keeping up because we are right here on the water, and telling what the climate will do to us years going forward. We're already seeing the
Level
effects of
rise. Yeah.
the high tides. Remember, we had a show a few years ago, when you came on Portsmouth Coffee Talk and talked about the title,
Yeah, that's right.
the tides and everything. So,
That's right.
so it's something that we should be concerned about and something that we should be informed as often as we can. So we're going to try to do our part here on the Slim Nation and Portsmouth Coffee Talk, which we work together, and make sure the information gets out to at least to our audience. And when you come in town and you have those little affairs like you had, was it last week? Please let me know so I can come out there with my camera.
Absolutely. Just quickly here to close out. Real passion for Hampton Roads. Born there, still live there and such. And we're gonna make sure that Hampton Roads gets his fair share, and not only Capital Manor, but a lot of communities and such. I can tell you this, just honestly, a lot of cities are well ahead of Hampton Roads, well ahead, and we all know why, because they have advocates. They have advocacy. They lead with community. They lead with advocacy. They lead with activism. They lead with policy. They lead with community engagement. They lead with collaborative problem solving. That's why they're ahead. Okay, that's what that what distinguishes us. And what I plan to do is, through our eco district Hampton Roads model, which we're changing and such, is to move these resources into our communities and such. Billions of dollars, all kinds of technical assistance, all kinds of measures and such, to move us to the quality of life that we deserve.
Well, I'm with you all the way. So, and continue, and I'll continue to bring you on here periodically to talk about what you're doing and remind people how important this subject of climate and how just talking about climate is more inclusive than just that one single
Well, more inclusive.
incident.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's holistic. It's
right.
holistic. It affects everything: poverty,
Everything.
education, poverty, education, hunger, uh, uh, materials. It's all inclusive. So next show, we'll talk about that.
Oh, okay, sure. And I had this little joke on the other platforms where I was
Right.
talking. Well, we all grew up in our neighborhoods
Yeah.
with June bugs. We used to
Yeah.
catch them and tie a
And
string to the leg and fly them
where
around.
Molly at? Where did you
And
go?
yeah, well, I didn't see them in June, and in August, all of a sudden, you see all these June bugs. I said, well, they either are confused or we're gonna have to rename them July bugs
Yep.
or
Yep.
August bugs. But I
Uh-huh.
didn't see any in June, and that's when we usually saw them in the beginning of the summer. And I don't know if that's
Oh yeah.
an effect of climate or what's going on, but we call them June bugs for a reason because that's when we saw them, and all of a sudden in late July and August we see all these June bugs, and I said,
Yeah.
wow, they're kind of late this year. It
Ecosystems.
was it was kind of a joke, but
Yeah, no,
I
no,
thought
no.
in the back of my mind that this is a serious thing because
You're spot on.
little things like that we don't pay attention to that will come back to haunt us in the years to come. And we have to think about the future generations because we're not going to be here as long, I mean, forever. And
That's right.
our future generations, we want them to experience the same things that we did
Ain't about
growing up
it.
and not have to live in a vacuum
Uh-huh.
because the climate is so messed up.
Yeah.
But anyway, guys, thanks a lot. Well, I appreciate you, and we'll see you next time. And I'm sure we have a minute, plenty to talk about when you come back again. But I appreciate you and taking out the time. You always step up to the plate when I ask you, and I really appreciate that. And keep that running going, and maybe I'll run halfway with you. But
Hey,
yeah,
look,
I,
it's a
yeah,
7:30 a.m. in New Orleans. I think I'm gonna go hit
yeah.
Bourbon Creek.
I, I, I did track at Norcom, but all I did was high jump, so I didn't do a lot of running. We didn't have to run a lot. We just had to jump high. That's all.
I'm
Okay,
still
take care. How
great
about
day.
that?
All
All
right.
right, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Talk soon. Bye.
Okay.